Everybody, Kevin, thanks for the introduction. Sorry I couldn't be there in person. Got a couple of conflicts next week. There's a team workshop, and then I'm flying to Boston for a conference. So hopefully, in my physical place, this video will suffice for you guys. Before we go any further, I just want to say thank you to PrestaShop. Thank you to the community for the questions. Thank you to Natalie in particular, who works at PrestaShop, for emailing me, coordinating, answering all my questions, and being super helpful. Really appreciate it. I'm bummed to not be there in person, but hopefully this video coming from San Francisco will help you guys out, and look forward to talking to you, seeing you on the internet, I guess. So let's get right to it. If you don't know me, or if you were not listening to anything Kevin just told you about me, then here's a quick little introduction. I'm a designer and a developer. I've been doing this stuff for over 14 years now, and currently I work at GitHub. I've been over here for over a year now, and I primarily work on GitHub.com. Before that, I worked at Twitter. I worked there for 2.5 years, and I started off on the revenue team, and then I moved over to the Twitter.com development and design teams. Spent a lot of time writing a lot of HTML and CSS. And as you probably already know, while I was there, I also made this thing called Bootstrap with my buddy and coworker, Jacob Thornton, aka @Fat. Yes, I can. Bootstrap was originally made as an internal tool for the revenue team at Twitter. And when I say that, what I mean is we built an actual tool to help us administrate, and work with our customers who were building or who were advertising on Twitter. And so we designed a single one internal tool, one application, and we built all the navigation, the components, the buttons, forms, tables, everything just for that. And as we did that, I took all those things, copy and pasted them over into this other thing over here, and documented them as much as I could, as much as made sense at the time. And that's really where Bootstrap was born, as a way of documenting this internal tool that I had, that we had worked on, and that I thought could have a little bit more potential than the other internal tools at Twitter. Most of them had kind of languished a little bit, or were just kind of afterthoughts, just due to time constraints. And so internally, Bootstrap, which then was actually known as Twitter Blueprint, it really actually kind of blew up when we had our first hack week at Twitter. And when I say blew up, I mean at the end of that week, half of the teams presenting for hack week, which are over 70 teams, over half of them were using Bootstrap. And I didn't even know about it. These people just got started with it, and were able to use it and make awesome stuff with it. And so from there, we decided to open source it. And it took a year to actually do it before we actually released it. But Jacob came on board and helped me, or got all of it organized, and really helped us solidify the launch. And afterwards came back to write all those jQuery plugins. And the rest is basically history, and all that history is in the changelog for Bootstrap. So you can get that there. Basically use it however you like. So many tools today are being used in ways that the creators didn't really imagine. And on top of that, given the nature of open source and Bootstrap being open source, remixing, sharing, mashing up, adding stuff on top of, customizing, removing, any of those things is absolutely okay, and in fact encouraged. We don't want Bootstrap to solve every single problem, and realistically it can't. We can't implement everything that people want and everything that people really need, honestly. It just doesn't scale for us and the small team that manages it. So I imagine that someone in the audience and everyone else on the internet have had to do this in some capacity, but hopefully we've done a good amount of the legwork for you, that you don't need to use so many things on top of Bootstrap. But for some things, it's just going to be necessary, and that's just the way with the web and open source works, and I think it works pretty well. But if there's ever anything for feedback that you guys have that you want to make it into, that you want something to make it into Bootstrap, just let any of us know. Open an issue, submit a pull request, and we'll gladly consider it. I didn't really use open source before GitHub. There's SourceForge, and there's a couple other, like freebie download sites. But my first exposure to GitHub was actually just as a way to bookmark things and say, hey, I like this code, star it, so I can find it later. Only after we open sourced Bootstrap did I realize the potential of it. GitHub really centralized open source. It brought all these communities, these smaller communities, and really gave a face to open source, I think, more than anything else has. And given that it's centralized all of open source, most of open source into one area, it's made it really, really easy for a project to come in and get great exposure, work with other people, and really develop with a great set of tools that GitHub provides. Honestly, I don't think that Bootstrap would have happened without GitHub. I think we could have open sourced it somewhere else, but I don't even know if the motivation to open source it would have been there without GitHub. GitHub just made so much sense given that you could host your code there, you had issue tracking, you've got pull requests, you've got wikis, and then you have this thing called GitHub Pages where you can actually host all of your documentation, your entire repo you can host. So today, everything from Bootstrap's on GitHub, and I'm not just saying that because I work here, but it was done that way even before I started at GitHub, and it's worked out really well. That centralization, bringing everybody together, such a strong, large community, over almost 5 million users, I believe, today on GitHub. I don't know if the level of issues, the level of bug reports, feature requests, whatever have happened anywhere else. And all those things and all those other contributions is really what made Bootstrap possible and really what influenced it and how it grew, how it evolved. Honestly, just finding the time to rewrite an entire code base again. If you followed Bootstrap, then you know in Bootstrap 2 we rewrote everything. And the reason for that is I learned a lot from working on Twitter.com when we did the last redesign there. And so we realized we did a lot of things wrong, so we decided to break it all and declare a brand new version, break backwards compatibility, and say, here's Bootstrap 2, brand new. Bootstrap 3, I didn't want to do that originally because I didn't have the time to do it. I had just started at GitHub when we started working on Bootstrap 3, and I thought it would just be an incremental thing that we could just do a fresh visual pass and clean some things up, drop some code, improve our documentation. And 9 months later, when we finally released it, it was an entirely different thing than I'd set out for it to be. So the time to work on open source when new projects get decently large, even when they don't, is just really, it's the toughest challenge. And then rewriting an entire code base, going from desktop first to mobile first, which is by far the biggest change from Bootstrap 3. That was an interesting challenge because we literally had to rewrite every single component. But it was very useful because it reminded us how these components worked and gave us a better appreciation for really small, tight code bases that just scale up, that just work together naturally. I think that most of the things that we've seen this year in 2013, we're definitely going to see next year, and only faster and more in larger amounts, right? So the simpler visuals, the flat design, the focus on mobile and responsive, we're definitely going to see a lot more of that. Beyond that, I think it's kind of anybody's game. The flat design stuff really gave us something to all to rally around, which we've already kind of been doing, which is content first. Focus on your content. Flat design is about removing Chrome, removing the visuals, removing heavy elements, and just focusing on content as much as possible, whether that's text or photos. Beyond that, personally, I want to see folks working on things that nobody's even thought of yet. I want to do this because I think it'd be awesome, and I want everyone else to do it because it's worked out pretty well so far. Is what is a new UI pattern that we haven't thought of? And I think that this next year, when we see how much people can do on mobile devices, on desktop devices, as they get more powerful, as our CSS support, JavaScript support gets better, we're definitely going to be able to do a lot more things, and I'm really excited for what the change is going to be moving forward. Honestly, it kind of blows my mind, and I'm really excited to see what you guys do with it and how it helps you and how it affects how you guys work and what you do, and all the way down to your customers and everything. Seeing large organizations adopt it and build on top of it, iterate with it, it's really inspiring, and I'm really happy to see people do it. it's kind of frightening and exhilarating and humbling all at the same time, because I don't know how it's going to go, and hopefully it goes really well for you guys. I want to learn as much as you guys have to offer to me on that. So make sure you tell me how it goes, because I think it's going to be pretty awesome. Without really focusing on the e-commerce or merchant aspect of that, because I can't really speak to that part. But I have some decent, hopefully some decent advice that might just help you guys with your mindset as you approach these things. The gist of it is stay practical, stay focused, and keep being awesome human beings. So much of what we do can get lost in the scuffle of things, in the shuffle of things. So be practical and obvious in your design and development choices. Do what feels right, not what just because someone told you to do it. Follow what your team and what your gut says, and build things that you would want to use, and your customers should hopefully follow that, and they'll hopefully appreciate that. As far as focus goes, take the time to ask yourself really tough questions, those big questions. Where do you want to go? How do you want to work? What do you want your users to do? Like, how do you want to change the world? Can you change the world with your e-commerce site? Ask yourself those tough questions, figure it out with your team, and stay focused on those when you are actually doing all your work. And lastly, about being awesome human beings, try to be just excellent, awesome people to each other. Surround yourself with awesome people, and you'll be able to produce awesome work, and everything will hopefully work out just fine for you. That's been my mantra. That's how I approach projects, is just work with awesome people, and you'll get incredible results when you guys put your heads to it and really bust out all the work that you want to do. And that about wraps it up. Thanks everyone for listening. Thank you so much for coming out to Barcamp. Again, I'm so sorry I couldn't be there in person, but hopefully this video hasn't been a complete waste of your time, and that it hopefully helps out in some small way. I said it before, but please don't ever hesitate to reach out via Twitter or email or my GitHub feedback repository. Thanks everyone again. Thank you PrestaShop. Thank you Barcamp. Have a good one. Bye.